Hello and welcome to another episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, and I am in Panama, Illinois, which is in both Bond and Montgomery counties. I believe I'm in the Bond County portion of it, but this is a town of just over 300 people, and this is where one of the most powerful figures in America got their start in mining. John L. Lewis is who I'm talking about, and throughout the mid-20th century, he was one of the most powerful labor leaders in America. And there's lots to say about him, and he's been referenced in many pop culture, including a Bugs Bunny cartoon and a Katharine Hepburn movie. But there's a historical marker that was erected 2 weeks ago in November 5th to 2021, and it's one of the latest. It's the latest from the Illinois State Historical Society, and there was a ceremony here. I was not able to make it, but I'm here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the marker and what it's all about. All right, here we go. And this is John L. Lewis Park. That's the senior center. And yeah, there's nobody here. It's kind of sleepy right now. But John L. Lewis, according to Wikipedia, got his start in mining in 1909 and was here until 1915. But the marker says something differently. Here we go. All right, John L. Lewis, United Mine Workers of America. The United Mine Workers of America, or UMWA, President and Congress of Industrial Organization, CIO, founder John L. Lewis, who lived from 1880 to 1969, came to Panama, Illinois, from Iowa. Specifically, he was from a town called Cleveland, Iowa. But he moved here with his family in 1908 to work in the mines. Within 1 year, he was president of UMWA Local 1475. In 1909, Illinois UMWA District 12 hired him to lobby Springfield after the 1909 Cherry Mine disaster, which killed 259 workers. In 1911, the American Federation of Labor, AFL, hired him as an organizer. In 1919, he became the UMWA acting president, an office he was elected to in 1920 and held until 1960. The UMWA was the nation's largest union, and Lewis ruthlessly held power. Frustrated Illinois miners rebelled against Lewis in 1932 and organized the Progressive Mine Workers of America, or the PMWA, which led to bloody battles between insurgents and UMWA loyalists. In 1935, Lewis launched the Congress of Industrial Workers, CIO, challenging the AFL craft unions with industrial unionism, bringing millions of workers into the union movement. Lewis negotiated better wages, safety, health, welfare, and retirement programs for miners. Nationally renowned from 1930s to 1950s, famous for his bushy eyebrows, stentorian voice, and Shakespearean rhetoric, Lewis was both feared and cultivated by politicians. His support was critical to President Franklin Roosevelt's 1936 re-election, though he did not support Roosevelt in 1940. Lewis kept a Springfield home and is buried in that city's Oak Ridge Cemetery. And here's a list of all the sponsors here. And there's a lot of them, and not surprisingly from the Union Labor Life Insurance Company and Village of Panama, UMWA, and then of course, the Illinois State Historical Society. But this is a brand new marker. So, I mean, there's lots to say about John L. Lewis. I mean, many people feared him. He was feared as a dictator, but he was also a Republican, but he quietly supported Franklin Delano Roosevelt, as it says here on the marker. But he was also a Herbert Hoover supporter as well in 1928. But yes, Lewis was definitely an isolationist. And of course, it says here on the marker that he broke with FDR in 1940 because of FDR's anti-Nazi foreign policy. Wow. But he was an aggressive fighter and strike leader who gained high wages for his membership while steamrolling over his opponents. And of course, including the United States government. But he was one of the most controversial and innovative leaders in the history of labor, gaining credit for building the industrial unions of the CIO into a political and economic powerhouse to rival the AFL. But during World War II, he was widely criticized by calling nationwide coal strikes, which critics believed to be damaging to the American economy and war effort. Upon retirement, Lewis handpicked his successor to be Tony Boyle, who was a miner from Montana, to take the presidency of the Union in 1963. A year later, in 1964, Lewis was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Lyndon B. Johnson. His citation reading, "An eloquent spokesman of labor, Lewis has given voice to the aspirations of the industrial workers of the country and led the cause of free trade unions within a healthy system of free enterprise." He is also a recipient of the first Eugene V. Debs Award for his service to industrial unionism. And he later lived in Alexandria, Virginia, which is not too far from Washington, D.C. Alright, well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, in the small town of Panama, Illinois. I'm visiting the latest historical marker by the Illinois State Historical Society about John L. Lewis. Alright, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Jason, signing off.